What's up everybody and welcome to another edition of AGR's Pop Culture Reviews. Now as you guys know, the progenitor for all of this, including this show, was the Robotech Macross saga. Of course, Robotech in the US and Macross in Japan. And I've actually been waiting for these pieces for a very long time. After some very disappointing delays and waiting a couple years for them to be released, they are finally in studio, and I have to say they are very impressive. Now I've mentioned this several times in previous reviews, but I do think it's worth mentioning again. Obviously, Macross, or Robotech in the States, was an incredibly influential anime, and for many of us as kids, really started this obsession with the giant robot genre. But what really distinguished Robotech is that it was less fighting the creature of the week and it was more telenovela. There was a lot of drama and, very boldly, sometimes in the series they would kill off main characters, and it was very emotional, and that's why it was pretty revolutionary for its time. The good guys didn't always win at the end of the 30 minutes, and at times it could be pretty morally ambiguous. So having said all that, today we're going to be reviewing Kids Logic's version of the VF1J, the 1/8 scale mechanical bust statue. Let's take a closer look. Now this is one of 4 busts that have been released, and of course we're starting off with the VF1J, made famous by Lieutenant Rick Hunter in the show, and this thing is just absolutely beautiful. The size is perfect. Take a look at the green visor and especially the detail in the sensors inside, and they're very important, we'll see later on in the review. The carbon scarring and just the level of detail here is brilliant. The color palette is great. I love that red stripe, which is now iconic for the VF1J, and of course the dual antennas, which look amazing, and the cool thing is that they actually attach magnetically. Now the midsection of this piece is pure perfection. Now if you were looking for something that had a lot of great detail, as these busts do, this is definitely it. Just take a look at all the wiring, the servos. There are some great dry brush techniques here. It looks like actual metal, and one thing I forgot to mention, this thing is pretty hefty, so it doesn't feel cheap, and rightfully so because it is pretty expensive. At this price point you can see where all of the money went to, and again, this is very detailed. The lower section of this piece is equally detailed. I love that, again, it's very worn. The only thing that was kind of a misstep for me, and actually might have been a problem a little bit later, is the air brake. It's not functional, it doesn't open, but it is very detailed. I also love the way that it attaches to the actual base, gives it a nice sense that it's floating in the air, and a real sense of 3-dimension. You also kind of get the sense that this section of the Valkyrie is simply in a hangar somewhere and is being repaired, and I thought that's pretty cool. Overall, I love the overall art style and design. Now surprisingly, one of the coolest aspects of this bust is that it is fully functional. It's not static, so you can actually move the head. It pivots really nice and really cool. You can see how the pistons actually move with the head, and it looks like that's how it would actually move mechanically in real life. Now I thought that was an extremely nice touch, and it gives it a sense of more lifelikeness. Just really cool, guys. And again, for this price point, I would expect nothing less. I would want to see some functionality there. Now the reverse side of this piece is definitely something you want to mirror, because there's so much detail on the reverse side, including that magnificent sensor which also lights up, and we'll show that in the video later. You also get that brilliant decal of the 101, which is now iconic for the VF1J, and if you notice, it does read SDF1, which is really cool, and it's a nice detail. And if you lower down to the base a little bit, just midsection, you also get to see the wiring and how detailed that is, and it looks incredible. And of course, it attaches to the base really nicely. Definitely mirror this one. Now one of the things that struck me immediately and I was really impressed by is how dense this base is. Now it's certainly bottom heavy, and that's a good thing. You don't want this thing to be top heavy because it is a bust. Now the only thing that I can really complain about is the actual insignia where it does read VF1J. That's kind of a cheap sticker. I think at this price point they could have done a plaque, something metallic, but instead it's just very plasticky and cheap, and it really doesn't go with the overall motif here. But I can certainly overlook that minor gripe because of this wonderful aspect of this piece. The thing lights up like a Christmas tree. It is absolutely stunning. Look at the sensors inside, and here's the thing, guys. It's not just one static light, you have alternating lights that blink on their own, they have their own interval, and it does look awesome. That sensor in the back is also really cool. I mean, guys, they did a really great job here, and at this price point, I can see, again, where the money went. This thing is just stunningly beautiful, and it's really bright, guys. It doesn't really do it justice in the video. Just awesome. Now, it really goes without saying, This is an instant holy grail piece, guys, and all 4 versions sold out almost immediately. And I'm going to be doing reviews of not only the VF1D, the VF1S, but also the VF1A. So guys, stay tuned for all those reviews. This thing is absolutely awesome. If you're a Robotech Macross fan, this is something you definitely need to have in your collection. Now before I go, I just gotta send a real special thanks to F&B Collectibles Incorporated for sponsoring today's video, and Sideshow Collectibles for sending this wonderful piece over for review. Alright everybody, so that's my official review on Kid Logic's version of the VF1J, the 1/8 scale mechanical bust statue. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next AGR's Pop Culture Reviews.